Captain Tommy Scoville, and you're on the lifeboat. Alrighty, people. Give me a moment while I get this all queued up here. Let me make sure that I got volume down. As you can see, from the lack of a cool intro, my bottle-headed partner will not be here this evening. He is, unfortunately, yesterday we talked a pretty good deal about suffering. And, it's heartbreaking to say, but currently that's where my partner is. He's suffering. He's suffering with the loss of someone that was very near and dear to him. And yesterday, we were hoping that Mark might be back, but the last thing in the world we want is for Mark to be back before he's ready. And the truth of the matter is he isn't. And he's going to hopefully tomorrow night, Mark should be back. He's going to take one more night for himself, and I think we can give him that, right? That's what we do. We care for one another. So let's see. Seventh Son, Miss Hermit Hill, Kentucky, Leisure Beast. Good to see you, Leisure. Glad that you're here. Oh, look at that. Don't get my fingers near this stuff. Chris King, peace out of Chicago. Good to see you, Chris. Arizona Raven, I'm glad that you're here. People, because I'm doing this old school, let's go over the rules. They're fairly simple. We do not discuss politics. Not in any way, shape, or form. Simply put, we don't do it. Flamin' Jackson, good to see you. Doesn't matter whether you're on the right or you're on the left. The only time politics ever get discussed here is when they start to encroach on the subject matter that we do talk about all of the time. Sarah, good to see you. And that subject matter is drugs or alcohol. DJ Daddy-O, I'm glad that you're here. Mr. T. You know what? Mr. T's losing weight, people. He's been very successfully knocking some pounds off. We're super proud of the direction that he's heading in. Joanna W., so glad that you're here. The second rule, people, we don't discuss religion. It's okay to say, I'm praying for you. It's okay to talk about your religious belief. What it's not okay to do is bag on someone else's religious belief. If you do that, you're gone, Everybody is entitled to faith, and whatever that form or shape that faith takes, that's a very personal thing. And for that reason, we don't allow people to say, my God's better than your God, or here's why you're not getting to heaven. Right? Those things will get you booted pretty quick. Lady Fiona Crispin, good to see you. Glad that you're here. We also don't allow cursing in the comments section. Honestly, it shouldn't be that tough. But from time to time, there are people, hey, Lord Kiss Freak, live from the road, apparently. I'm glad you're here. Every once in a while, someone slips, just try to keep it under control, people. Honestly, it shouldn't be that difficult. And then the last rule is, of course, rule number 4. That is we don't have a lot of room for mean people. And, every once in a while, they pop up. If your account is a few minutes old, there's only one reason you're here. We've been doing this long enough. And we can see you posting all of the fun content in other forums to let us know that you're over here just having fun at our expense. So if you have a very new account, perhaps you should tell us who you are and how you got here so that we don't accidentally just delete you, because one-day-old accounts usually are not legit. And that's just sort of the way that goes. So as I was saying, people, Mark has taken the night off. Thoughts and prayers for Mark, and not just for Mark, but for his best friend, lost a son. And, he also is a grandfather. And, he had to cope with his grandson finding his son. And this is a very young boy who found his father unresponsive. And that's probably the toughest situation that, we talked about it last night in terms of being able to quantify suffering. There is no greater suffering known to man than losing a child. That is honestly, quantifiably, the worst thing that could possibly happen to you in terms of suffering. So thoughts and prayers for Mark's best friend as well, who is just how you would expect a person to be under the circumstances. And today or yesterday was the day that they laid his son to rest. And this is, Mark has been best friends with this individual since I believe the age of 4. So they've known each other their entire lives. A great deal of this fell directly to Mark because of the situation that this person has. Still at work, 10 days left, says Lord Kiss Freak. Well, we're glad that you took the time to stop in and say hello to us. It means a lot. It really does. Because of the fact that Mark's best friend has limited family, a great deal of this responsibility fell onto Mark's shoulders. And he has really been doing a bang-up job of keeping this guy going. Keeping him in spite of all of the things that he's dealing with. He has done absolute wonders to keep his best friend's mind in the game. And that's, as you could probably imagine, there's nothing that could possibly be more difficult than what he's going through. So thoughts and prayers for them, please. Also, hey, Bex, glad that you're here. Tonight's subject matter is balance and living a life in balance. This is a little bit more fun than suffering, but it's a difficult subject matter to attack. And the reason is, what does balance mean? Right? If you ask 100 people what the definition of living a balanced life is, you probably get 100 different definitions. I mean, pardon me, people. There may be a recurring theme that comes, back and, again and again. But for the most part, there are as many different people. Hey, Derek N., I'm glad you're here. There are as many different views on what it means to live a balanced life as there are people. And when I was doing some research on this, I was looking at opinions from people, and opinions, opinions are something that people love to give. This country especially, people love to give you their opinion. Very oftentimes, those opinions are based on nothing but that person's thought on a particular subject matter. When you start to listen to psychiatrists or psychologists, they have sort of a criteria that they talk about when they begin to talk about a balanced life. However, what a balanced life means to you could be very different than what a balanced life means to me. Vicky Brooke, I'm glad that you're here. But I think that we can all agree that when we start to talk about living a balanced life, Charlie Mullins, glad you're here, bud. When you start to talk about living a balanced life, there are things that we have to do. There are things that are part of everyday life for everybody, right? Unless you were absolutely blessed and you won the lottery. Jacob Forrester, good to see you. Unless you were really blessed and you won the lottery and you need not worry about finances in any way, you're going to take probably about 40 hours of every single week to work, right? Most people are going to go through some, variation of that. For some people, it could be 70, 80 hours a week, and for some people it might be 20, but most people work at some level. So when you start to break 24 hours a day into 7 days a week, one of the things that comes up, Lucinda and, I'm sorry, that's LeBron Shoe Collector. Good to see you, bud. Glad that you're here. Really glad you're here. That's awesome. When you start to balance these things out, work is going to take up a huge part of your life, and there's not much that we can do to get around it. Now, you've heard the cliches, a ton of times that if you do something that you love, you don't work a day in your life. These days, what I'm doing to support myself, I really enjoy. It's something that, the whole watch thing for me is a passion, and buying and selling watches has been great. This is something that I really enjoy. But because of the fact that I enjoy it far more than I would a normal job, 357, glad you're here. Because I enjoy it more than I would other things, it threatens to encroach on everything else in life. I could very easily spend 19 to 20 hours a day doing nothing but hunting watches down either online or in person, and not do anything else. So, and that's just one example, but we have a juggling act. And one of the things that comes up with people who are new to sobriety is that we get this feeling that we wasted so much of our life. And I use that phrase constantly. I wasted the first half of my life. I did. Even the work that I did, no matter what I did, there was always that element of there was no meaning to anything that I was doing in life. Stacy Michaels, glad you're here. If I was working, I was working to get drugs. You know, anything that I did, anything that I focused on, anything that was going on in my life, the driving force was always getting the next fix. So there was no balance whatsoever, obviously, in the first half of my life, because drugs ruled virtually every single part of that. Yes, Kiss Freak, have a good night's sleep. 40-foot garbage man, I'm glad you're here. So as you start to move forward, one of the things that you need to do, and I promise you people, when I talk about assignments, when I talk about recommending that you do something that involves one of these, right, and a pen, I'm never doing this stuff for busy work. I'm doing this because it is time tested and proven that this will lead to a much better life. People talk about trying to live in balance or harmony, but they'll never take the time to sit down and write down on a piece of paper exactly what's important in their life. If you don't know what's important, how do you balance it? If you don't know what the things in your life that are going to be your focus, how in the name of God could you possibly balance it? Right? We know that we're going to be working. That's something that you're going to have to do. So here's a couple of things. There have been many people that have written on the balanced life and what it means, and there have been, you see different people interviewed, and very often they interview people who have very successful lives. And the perspective of the people who have successful lives might be a little bit different than the and by successful I mean these people make a lot of money. I mean that's usually what success is often. The criteria that we get more often than not when they're saying we're going to interview successful people to find out what it is that they do to keep their life balanced. What they really mean is they're going to talk to people who have made an awful lot of money to see what they do. But no matter what criteria you use, and no matter which group of people that you read, the first thing that always comes up is health. Right? You've heard that cliche too. Well, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. A lot of truth to that. You know, if you're sick or if you're in pain or if you're going through things physically, that will dominate every other aspect of your life. It's difficult to have balance if you can't walk. It's difficult to have balance if you're constantly in agonizing pain. How do you do anything other than concentrate on exactly that? Hold on one moment. Pray for a leash on my mother's mouth. It seems dementia has a similar effect as to alcohol when it comes to inhibitions. I feel sorry for the staff at that home. You know what, Jacob? My heart goes out to you. There is something that you can look up online. It's called the Alzheimer's prayer, and it's while it doesn't focus on, it focuses on Alzheimer's as opposed to actual dementia, but they're so close to one another, and it is a remarkable piece of literature. And I'll give you the broad brushstrokes of it, but basically what it says is, you know what, please don't judge me for the things that I say today. Because, what happens to these people is that you're right. That it's probably one of the great descriptions. There is so much similarity to seeing someone who is in the on throes of dementia or Alzheimer's. Their inhibitions get lowered. They very much revert back almost to childhood, where they don't have any filter and they say what is ever on their mind, and they do so at the pain and the cost of everybody around them. And it's heartbreaking to watch, especially if you knew the person. I don't think that there's anything more painful than watching someone whose body continues to live while their brain starts to die. It is a very, very sad thing. Sorry. Yeah, Fiona says, I'm sorry to hear that. Sadly, it's quite common. I will most definitely pray. I'm sure the staff are loving and caring and will continue to care for her. They understand. They do. It does take a very special kind of person to work in that environment because it is a difficult thing to do. The things that they say, and you love them. There's nothing like walking into a room of somebody that you knew your entire life who looks at you like they've never seen you before, or they ask you if you work there. I mean, that kind of pain that dementia brings on to the people around them. That's the real suffering with dementia rather, or with Alzheimer's, is the family. She's probably fairly content because they don't realize, what's going on, to the extent, obviously, that the people around them do. And it's just such a painful thing. Jacob, my heart goes out to you, and I promise you, I will keep her in my prayers. I will also keep you and your family in my prayers as well. Vicky Brooks says, my mom had dementia for 4 years. She didn't recognize me for the last 2. I can't think of anything more painful, honestly. Such a horrible thing. And, as we're discussing balance, it's like, everybody agrees that the first thing in balance is taking care of your health. And if you're in a position to do that, obviously there are things that come up that there's nothing you can do anything about, right? There are things that come down the pike that you simply cannot do anything to control. However, there's a great deal that you can. You can get eating under control. You can exercise. You can do things to maintain the body so that the body, and you know what? I get people all the time that will reach out and say, well, that doesn't work for me because I have this, and this. Okay? Legitimately. You have this, and this. You can also eat cheeseburgers all day long, right? Follow it with 5 candy bars and 6 energy drinks. Regardless of where your baseline is, the eating that you do, the exercise you do, if all you can do for exercise is your upper body. I have a friend that I've shown pictures of on here before, a kid that I went to high school with, we call Lurch, and he lost the ability to use his legs. He was and he lost the ability to use his hands the way most people do. He's what's called a partial quad. So in the process of trying to heal him, they nicked his spinal cord in one of the surgeries, and his hands went from being normal to being, there's not much he can do. And he just went completely postal. He decided that he was going to be the best human being he could be. And I mean, his upper body his chest is out to here. His arms are like that big because he just decided that was the only part of his body he was going to be able to work on. Damn it, he was going to work on it. And he went on to win the U.S. Open Tennis Championship for people in wheelchairs. Tennis is played the same way that you would play normal tennis, except the ball is allowed to bounce twice. And because of his hands, the racket was actually sort of strapped in there. And he went on to win the U.S. Open. And he played rugby. He went skiing. No matter what is going on in your life, no matter what you have in terms of problems physically, there is always something you can do to better yourself. There is. Unless, of course, you just fall into the feeling of woe is me. But that falls into balance as well, right? That gets into to one of the other things that everybody talks about when they talk about balance, and that is having a positive outlook. No matter how difficult that is, having a positive outlook is absolutely key. You also have to work on priorities. As I was saying early on in this talk, in the previous life, when you feel like you've wasted so much of your time, one of the things that happens is, I'm sorry. I appreciate what you're doing here. I hope to see the 8 a.m. morning boost videos again. Exercise, use it or lose it. Keep on keeping on. You know what? I would. There's been some talk of maybe doing something in the morning again. We are talking about it. I'm not exactly sure what form that is going to take, but it is something that that we're not exactly sure what form that's going to take, but it is something that we're looking into. I promise you, Jacob. I remember a time in my life where a similar thing happened. But it was on the other end of the spectrum. I had a relative that thought I looked like her husband, and it was painful. because you would see the lights kind of go out, and you would see the sort of recognition of this person thinking that I was somebody that I wasn't. And it was heartbreaking. But in any case, people, there's just nothing about that illness that isn't heartbreaking. But, and I sorry I squirreled a bit there, but when you feel like you've wasted your life and you get sober, you try to shove 16 pounds of whatever into a 5-pound bag. And we get all of these different things. I'm a great example. I run a sobriety channel. I've got stuff that I'm doing in terms of buying and selling watches, right? And then I'm trying to go back to school, and I'm trying to get a part-time job. And, when I sat down and started really looking at all of these things, it wasn't particularly realistic. I was trying to fit, a 35-hour work day into a 24-hour day, and it's not healthy. And one of the things that you have to do is you have to really start to prioritize the things in your life. I was speaking to somebody on the boat recently, and I won't mention who it is unless they want to pipe up in the comment section, in which case they'll tell you themselves. But they were talking about backing off on social media. And one of the reasons was he felt that it was encroaching on his marriage. He had given up a lot of other habits along the way. And now that he's sober and he's living a life that is far more in tune with what he wants to be, on this planet, he still found himself, being attached to that phone for 10 hours a day. And I've done, I don't know how many videos on this, turn this thing off for a couple of hours a day. You want some balance? Kill the phone. Turn it off for a few hours a day. Have silence. Have a period of time that nobody can reach you. Me time, right? Like last night's video, or was that the night before? The night before. Looking out for number one. Spend a couple of hours a day focused on nothing but you, right? That will go a long way to help balancing your life. Joe Birdwell. Good to see you, brother. Hope your mom's hanging in there, Joe. I really do. I hope your mom's hanging in there. Apologies on behalf of Mark. He is going to be he's going to be talking to the people on his channel about that. You have my word, but Mark has been burying his best friend's son and everything that goes along with that. But I have a feeling he will be going live tomorrow night over on Wages World, and we'll have an opportunity to do that. I know it's something that means a lot to him, so it is coming. I promise you. Yeah, that is the truth. So just give him a minute, but that is definitely coming. So prioritize the things in your life, right? What's most important? What's second most important? And when you get down to like 5, 6, and 7, you might just have to trim them out. Not for the rest of your existence, but until you get things under control. Me, again, is a perfect example, right? Once I do find a school that's going to take me, and in spite of my criminal record, and is going to allow me to come back, I may have to prioritize a lot of things out of my life while I'm trying to get a master's. And once I have that, obviously that's going to free up all kinds of time in my life. So there are going to be times where you have to prioritize and put something on the back burner. There are things that are going to have to sit back there until you get, what's going on in your life under control, or until you get some of the goals that you've set knocked off. And there are going to be times where you say, if you knew how many times people have said to me as the captain of this boat, well, I would love to do that, but I just don't have time. I'd love to try to do that, but I just don't have time. And, my response to them almost 100 out of 100 times, I'll say to them, how much time a day do you spend on Facebook? Right? How much time a day do you spend on YouTube? How much time a day do you spend on TikTok or Twitter or all of that stuff? And if you take all of that and you're spending, say, 6 hours a day on social media, you got enough time to start your own business. For real, right? 6 hours a day is 42 hours a week. That's what most people spend at a full-time job. How much time are you spending on social media? And I'm not telling you not to, but I'm telling you to prioritize. Perhaps that's a priority for you. And I'm not even bad-mouthing that, people. I'm not. If what you're doing on social media is connectivity, if what you're doing on social media is hobbies that you absolutely love and connecting with people, if you're watching kiddie videos or you're watching, stuff that's probably not healthy, or if you're watching stuff that's negative as hell, prioritize. Look at what you're doing. Is it moving you closer to the person that you want to be, or is it moving you further away from the person you want to be? That is the litmus test for everything you do sober. What direction is it moving? And I mean everything. Everything that you're doing. Is it moving you closer to the person that you want to be or your goal, or is it moving you further away? I think it was last night, maybe it was the night before, but I talked about my goal. My goal is that I don't do drugs again between now and the next time they close the box permanently on Tommy Scoville. I don't want to get high again between now and the time that I die. So, for me, at the end of every day, I ask myself, was I moving closer to that goal, or was I moving farther away from that goal? And it's not as simple as, well, I didn't get high today, so I'm moving in that direction. It's so much more than that. As we talked about, relapse is a process, right? So are the things that I'm doing healthy? Are the things that I'm doing balanced? Am I balancing my life? As much as I love watches, if I'm spending 20 hours a day on them, it's probably not healthy. It's probably not good for me. You understand? It's everything in moderation. And the problem with that is we've never done a damn thing in moderation. That's why we're on the lifeboat, right? For real. We joke about this, but the Scoville family motto is, if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. You ever seen my brother eat peppers? You know, that's the way we've attacked everything. And I was able to be a professional skier. I was able to have some success in the things that I did in life prior to, to going off the deep end with drugs and crime. I was fairly successful in all the things that I was doing. The reason was I attacked them. The problem is I don't have a brake pedal. For me, that's something that is essential, and it brings up the next thing on my list, self-awareness. When you're prioritizing what you're doing, be self-aware. Be self-aware. Don't bull excrement yourself, right? You can lie to others. Honestly, it's not the healthiest thing in the world to do, but you can lie to others. If somebody says, how much time are you spending on social media, and is it good stuff? You can say, well, yeah, I'm spending 2 hours a day on it. Go ahead and lie to them. But don't lie to yourself. Are you spending 6 hours a day on stuff that's just not good for you? Negative stuff. Yes, I miss morning videos too, Captain. I know you're busy. You know what? People, I'm just going to be straight with you. It has nothing to do with busy. It doesn't. I didn't scrap the morning videos because I was busy. I scrapped the morning videos because they got 20 views, 30 views. I can blank out a specific amount of time every day to do a morning video. I can do that. But if no one's watching them, or very few people are watching them, I do want to help people, but that falls right into that priority thing. To take the time to prepare a morning video, to shoot it, to edit it, to do those things, I'm looking at knocking about an hour, right? Maybe a little bit more than an hour every day out of my life. Then throw in responding to the comments and things like that, because usually there wasn't a live element to it. So there were some comments, and I want comments. I want that. So maybe an hour and 25 minutes. Over the course of a month, that's a lot of time. And if I'm helping people, great. But I didn't feel like the bang for the buck was there. I would be willing to play with it again. Maybe we'll throw up a couple and see if people watch it. And if we're getting views, I would consider doing it if it's something that helps the crew. But if it's not being watched, then I probably wouldn't do it. And that's kind of the way it goes on that. Danny Fudge, thank you, Danny. That's a kind thing to say. I really appreciate that. Honestly, I do. The next thing is to create if you're going to live a balanced life, right? You have to create a mindset that is not just positive, but it's efficient, right? And this is something that I think people have a difficult time wrapping their brain around sometimes. By the way, Danny Fudge, I actually went to your channel. You got some fascinating stuff on it. You really do. You have some fascinating stuff on your channel. I was looking at some of the videos concerning the aircraft. I enjoyed your channel. I really did. If you people love, aviation, things like that, there's some pretty cool stuff on Danny's channel. You ought to check it out. The next thing, so back to just real quickly, an efficient mindset. It's one thing to remain to remain positive and to have that sort of positive thing going forward. Hey, good night, LeBron. I really appreciate you stopping by, bud. I really do. Thank you very much. You take care. It's one thing to have a positive outlook on life. It's so important. It really is. But we have to start thinking in terms of efficiency, because it's something that we never, ever gave a minute's thought to in our previous life. If the dope man said, I'll meet you in a parking lot at 2, but he didn't show up until 5, we would sit in that parking lot for 3 hours. There is nothing else on the planet that somebody would routinely put up with somebody being 2 hours or 3 hours late for, right? You would fire that person. You would just not have them be a part of your life anymore. But that was so much a part of our previous life that you kind of have to start thinking in terms of efficiency. It's so good to see you, Captain and crew. I'm lovely tonight. Hope everyone is even better. God, it's good to see you, man. It really is. You're 33 days sober? Danny Fudge, how cool is that, people? 33 days sober. Hold on a second. We'll bust that out. Participation trophy of the day to Danny Fudge at 33 days sober. You know something? That is the coolest thing. People, how great is that? T-Prod, I'm glad you're here. This one's for you, Danny. That's fighting the good fight. That's living the life that you were meant to live. Keep this thing going, right? What got you to day 33? One more day, right? Just get through tomorrow and keep that rolling. I've been doing that one day at a time thing for 6.5 years. Just continue to do what you're doing, Danny. I am proud of you, brother. I mean that. That's good stuff. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that is awesome. It really is. People, hope everybody caught that. That is why we do what we do, right? That's why we come here, to celebrate the victories of everybody fighting the good fight. Danny, good for you, brother. It's awesome. Man, is that awesome. I can't tell you how happy I am about that. Seriously, good stuff. The next one, people, is when you're starting to weigh all of these things and trying to balance your life out. Plan on rotten stuff happening. I'm not trying to be a killjoy or a buzzkill or any of those things, but we plan for, we try to balance all of these things and keep some kind of equilibrium through all of it. Make no mistake, bad things are going to come down the pike. They're going to. And if you keep that in mind, and I don't mean wait for the next shoe to drop. I don't mean, hanging crepe and feeling like, something bad's about to happen. Just when it happens, I'm going to be prepared for it. When that happens, I'm going to be ready to go. Believe it or not, people, doing what I do for the lifeboat, I budget time every day for what's going to go wrong. I really do. Sorry. I honestly budget time for what's going to go wrong because it's part of what we do. And, I work with a partner, and very oftentimes, I have a producer who's in the back office, and life is considerably easier when I have a producer in the back office. It really is. I don't know if you ever thought about it, but when I turn this over to my bobble-headed partner, I usually got about 15 to 20 minutes left in the live feed, which means that on a given night, I got about 4 more minutes that I'm going to be doing in the live feed. If Mark's not here, I got about 26 more minutes that I'm going to be doing in the live feed. I'm not complaining, people. I'm really not. But when I start to prepare to do a subject matter, it makes sense for me to prepare for an hour because you just don't know, especially with the situations being how they are. Mark has For those of you who have known Mark longer than I have, Mark has had a tough tear, people. He has endured a massive amount of stuff in the last 2 or 3 years of his life. It's been astounding. If you ever sit down with him sometime and listen to the stories, the things that Mark has been through is remarkable. And you know what? He's maintained a great attitude. Hey, we love that you found this channel. Truthfully, Danny, we love that you found this channel. I'm glad that you're here. We all are. And Danny, if you start feeling like you're slipping, if you start feeling like, you might be heading in the wrong direction, my email is in the Dropbox. My partner's email is in the Dropbox. There's a bunch of ways. If you're not a member of the Lifeboat group over on Facebook, that's in the Dropbox. Go check in there. That way, if you're having a problem, you can just post that you're feeling bad. People will jump all over it to help you. The more ways that you can connect, the safer you're going to be in the long term for remaining sober. But and that's a fact. But preparing for the worst, people, knowing that the greatest laid plans of mice and men often go awry. That's just the way it is. No matter how much planning and no matter how much you balance and everything else, life happens. Right? It's a better bumper sticker than the other one, but it means the same thing, right? SH, bad stuff is going to happen. And if you allow it to shock you, and you allow it to sort of blow you off of course, then you're failing. And you're failing in balance, because this is something that's essential. It really is. Balancing your life is important. And if you don't believe that bad things are going to come down the pike, and if you don't plan for it, I just mean don't schedule your life so that if anything bad happens, you're out of business. I can't do a channel that way. I can't. I'm always prepared to go for an hour. If I don't have to, that's great. But I have to prepare every one of these with the mindset of I'm going to come here and I'm going to speak for an hour. And don't mistake what I do with preaching, right? Because it's not in any way, shape, or form. But if I were a preacher, I would do this an hour a week. I do it 7 hours a week at a minimum, sometimes 8 or 9 hours a week. And in the old days, 14 hours a week. The reason I say that is I had to plan that things were going to happen that were going to blow that off course. And I think that it's important that I take this as seriously as everybody else does. The fact that you people show up here every day, I can't show up here and twiddle my thumbs. For me, and I'll keep this real because I think it's part of the subject matter. When I balance my life and when I balance everything out that's important and all of that, I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't go get the master's degree if it meant screwing with the channel. Straight up. I won't get a job that's going to screw with the channel. The watches, which I love more than anything and have for most of my life, I am a watch fanatic. But if that encroaches on the channel, I'll stop doing that. Because you have to prioritize. And for me, what I do on the Lifeboat is more important than anything else I do. Is it always more enjoyable? No, it's not. Honestly, there are times that this is tough. There are times that this can drive you crazy. But then somebody like Danny Fudge says, you know what? I'm 33 days sober. And anytime something like that happens, the old saying, yes, it happens. That would be, and when it happens in piles. That's life. It's your attitude that makes it better or worse. Scrape it off and walk on. It's a great comment, Jacob. He's right. You know what I mean? It's going to happen. The question is always, how deep is it going to be? And how are you going to react to it? I say it all the time, right? Life is 5% what happens and 95% how you deal with it. But the interview that I did with Niall, how to buy you 14 days of riding high on this channel. No other way to put it. I mean, I get a high out of that. Make no mistake. When something that real and that emotional comes out and it affects that many people, I go, hell yeah, that's why I do this, right? That's why I get up and I do this. But for me, that's the priority. And it doesn't matter what your priority is. That's way too personal to even, you don't have to tell me that. But you have to absolutely have to tell yourself. You have to know. So it's part of being self-aware, and it's part of prioritizing. You have to know what is the most important thing for you and make sure that that is what you put your time and your energy into. And everything else, progressively goes down. But make sure that you prioritize and make sure that you've got it together, because that's the way it's going to work. Without that, I promise you, you're looking at failure. And then lastly, a positive attitude. And it's just like he just said, it does happen and you're going to step in it. But the bottom line is how you react to that. Your attitude, positive or negative, is going to determine exactly what happens. You know what I'm saying, people? Honestly, that's what it boils down to. It's going to be your attitude. And that's not just in terms of balance. That's life in general. But when you're trying to balance things out, if my attitude for my priority goes to hell, if I start having a bad attitude about the channel, if I start feeling negative about the channel, well, then my number one priority in life is being threatened. And if my number one priority in life is threatened, so is my sobriety, my serenity, my happiness, my future. You understand? So when I get the email from someone's wife who said so-and-so drank themselves to death, or I get the email that says we found so-and-so, they overdosed. That's, and we've talked about this a lot lately because we just went through it, but that's like getting kicked in the stomach. And you start to question, boy, was there something more I could have done? Or, all of those things. And that's painful, and it taxes you. It really does. And that's where attitude comes in. One of the things that Mark and I talked about when we first got this channel underway was that we made sure that no matter what else, we were aware of the fact that we weren't going to win every battle. In fact, we discussed at length the fact that we weren't going to win most of them. Like I talked about the other night. Statistically speaking, the odds are not in our favor. So we knew that the only thing that was going to get us through the number of people that come here, talk about getting sober and disappear, the number of people that come here and talk about getting sober and overdose, or drink themselves to death, or anything else. The only thing that gets you through that, so you can keep coming back and keep doing what you're doing and keep doing it with a smile, is your attitude. And they're all cliches, but there's a reason cliches are popular, people, right? Cliches don't become cliches because they're stupid. Cliches become cliches because they're awesome. I got 6 more days until I have made it to day 30 sober. Attaboy. That's my dog right there. Seriously. Brandon, good for you, bud. 6 more days. I hope you listened to Danny Fudge at day 33, because that is inspiring. I need to trim this mustache. This is driving me crazy. I feel like Magnum PI. It's getting a little thick up here, people. And I dropped my silver pocket watch. So happy that it didn't dent. I would have been heartbroken. I don't know if you heard it hit the floor a second ago, but Joanna W. says, fantastic, Brandon, you got this. Bud, I got an entire day with your name on it, right here. This is Danny Fudge's today. But I got an entire day with your name on it, Brandon. We got this close twice, bud. This is you, right? This is waiting. We're going to have the Brandon Calloway day. I promise you. 6 more days. We're gonna have a virtual celebration for you right here, brother, because that's gonna be a big one. And you know you can do it. You've gotten this close. You know you can do this. There's not a doubt in my mind. Yeah, Fiona, careful with the go, Brandon. That means something different these days in the U.S. I'm kidding. Yeah, you heard it hit the floor. On the bright side, it didn't. It didn't dent. Kind of scared me a little bit. Now, what I just gave you is considered by psychologists to be the order that most people think of when they go with balance. The next one I'm reading to you because I find this fascinating. This was a study where they asked CEOs. These were worldwide corporations, so chief executive officers from all over the world running huge, successful companies, right? Billion-dollar corporations. They asked them about balance, and they listed 7 things that they considered balance. And here's the order that these are listed. Keep in mind who said this, because I think this is essential, people. Honestly, I think this is something worth talking about. This is the CEOs of multinational billion-dollar corporations. Here's what balance meant to them. Number 1, physical health. And I promise you, I looked at, I don't know how many studies. Everybody always says physical health is number 1. Makes sense if you think about it. Number 2, family. Good stuff. Now, as this relates to us, don't tell me that you don't have a family. Don't tell me you've got a problem with your family, because we're your damn family. So if you're having problems with another family, choose this one. The people that say you can't choose your family are idiots. You absolutely can choose your family. I got brothers and sisters all over the world. They're sober, they're fighting the good fight, and I love them. Right? Brothers and sisters. Number 3, social. Right? So while they're balancing things and running these corporations, they want to make sure they're going out and doing their thing, having some parties, spending some time with friends, playing tennis, whatever the case may be. But that's a big part of their life as well. Then number 4 was finances. Balancing the financial part of their life came in at number 4. It's probably not as important in terms of worrying about it as a lot of other people would worry about it, because these people are making unbelievable amounts of money, right? Number 5, business. So these people who are running huge multinational corporations worth billions of dollars, you'll notice their personal finance was more important than those huge companies that they were running. Balancing their life financially was more important than balancing these companies, most of which, by the way, are publicly traded. So they were far more worried about their own 401k than yours, right? Or anybody else's, which is funny. Then 6, giving back. Honestly, I think they called it civic duty, and I changed it to giving back. But these are charitable organizations, things of that nature. So for CEOs, that comes in at number 6. And the very last thing for all of these CEOs running huge multinational corporations was spiritual. I found that funny. I really did. Because when their finances and their business were higher up on the list than God, which is probably why they're running huge multinational corporations. Again, people, it's priorities, right? It's what's most important to you. Spirituality was the least important thing to all of these CEOs. If I were to put this list together, it would not be number 7 for me. I promise you it wouldn't. In fact, it would be above all of you here on the boat. It would be above my family. Sorry. But for me, that's the way it is. And, every once in a while, I'll have somebody who goes, I can't believe you say that. People, if I get out of whack with God and with what I believe, the rest of it goes to crap in a handbasket anyway. It doesn't matter what I put on the rest of the list. I've been practicing all of this for over 5 decades. And if I'm not right with God, forget my family, forget the lifeboat, forget my health, forget civic duty, business, finance, all of it. If I get out of step with God, the rest of it is over. It's over. It's just a matter of time where I won't be sitting in front of this microphone. In fact, the microphone will be in a pawn shop. That's what happens when I get out of step with God. For me, that's the most important thing. Now, no matter what list you decide to go with, no matter what, I love this boat. I love this boat too. I really do. No matter what list you decide to go with, no matter what order you try to put your priorities in, right? We're not like other people. You understand that? We're not like other people. That's why I'm wearing a captain's hat. It's why we call this the lifeboat, because we're all in a boat that makes us a little different than everybody else. So the first thing on this list, right, before you get to, your health or anything else, health better means sobriety. Because everything on this list, and this is all important stuff, people. I mean, we managed to talk about it for 50 minutes, almost an hour, talking about all of this. All of it will be nothing if you don't stay sober. All of it will be nothing if you can't stay off of your substance of choice. When we talk about balance, and you see the scales, right? On one side of that scale is your brain's desire for you to get high. On the other side of that scale is you fighting the good fight. And the rest of it is trivial. It really is. Because without sobriety, there's no spirituality. Now, I'm talking about me. For you, I mean, that's your answer. That's not something that I can weigh in on. That is completely up to you. But for me, God, family, business, civic, mission, everything in life hinges on me never putting a needle in my arm again. Every single thing that I do in life hinges upon me never smoking heroin off of a piece of tin foil again. It also means not trying some new drug that I think I might not get addicted to. Granted, there aren't too many drugs I haven't tried. But if I start down that path in any way, you know what I mean? Like you come across people who have the mindset of, well, I was addicted to heroin. I'm never going to do that again. You know, I might smoke a little pot if they made it legal in my state. People, it's legal in my state. Right down the street, there's a dispensary. It's about 3.5 miles from here. If I go to that dispensary and I buy a little weed, weed's not my problem. It's not. But if I go to that dispensary and I buy a little bit of weed, in about 3 or 4 weeks, I might try something else. No. In 3 or 4 weeks, I will try something else. It might be a little coke, might be some meth, maybe eat a few Valiums. Within a week or two of that, I'll eat the first pill, be a pain pill. I'll try 3 or 4 Norcos just to see if they still do anything, right? And then I'll go, those things do nothing. And then I'll try an Oxycontin 80. Of course, I'll crush it and snort it because, I wouldn't eat it. And then within about 2 weeks, I'll be doing 8 grams of heroin a day. It's the way it is. You know what that's called? That's self-awareness. For real. Self-awareness. The one thing I am not is delusional. Do you understand? The one thing I am not is a liar. Especially when it comes to myself. I don't lie to myself. I cannot do a drug. Can't do any drug. Can't. Now, I can have a glass of wine at dinner. I usually don't. In fact, I hardly ever do. You know why? Because it doesn't make sense. For me, it doesn't. I like the taste of wine. I love the taste of beer. But I know where that'll go. I've never been an alcoholic. But I promise you I could be one. I could, with very little effort. I guarantee you I could. You say, well, you made it 5 decades without being... Yeah, because there was always something better to do. But if I said to myself, the only thing I'm going to allow myself to do is drink. That's it. That drug I can do, But I'm not just going to have a beer. I'm going to have about 5 of them, 6 of them, see what happens. That'll work for about 3 or 4 days, 5 days. And then I will be drinking every day. I will be. It's just how it works. I know me. I know me. You understand? I don't know. You need to make that decision about you. Seriously. I know people that say, I smoke a little weed. My drug of choice was cocaine. I'll never do that again. Now I just smoke a little bit of weed. I'm not here to tell you that you can't do that. That's not my job. It's not what I do. You know what I mean? I'm not. It's not who I am, and it's not someone I could ever be. I'm not I'm not clairvoyant, right? I'm not omnipotent. I'm not any of those things. But what I can tell you is me. Yeah, I can't do any of it. I can't. And I'll tell you something, people. I did a video about 5 videos ago about being powerless, right? I'll tell you something. I'm not powerless at all. You know why? Because I know the only way I can win a fight with drugs is to not get in a fight with drugs. That's power. That's the ultimate power. Trust me, that's the ultimate power. I know who I am, right? Knowledge is power. And I know who I am. I know what I'm made of. I know what it takes. You know, I've said this so many times and it's kind of funny, but I have an allergy to drugs, right? I do drugs and I break out in handcuffs. Might take a year. I've had runs where it took 6. But make no mistake about it. Once I start doing drugs, it's just a matter of time before they're closing a cell door on me. And when they close it the next time, they're never going to open it again. That's it. I don't get another chance. Most definitely, amen. Yeah, it's there's something to self-awareness. And I got another. I love this boat. I do too. I really do. I love this boat. I love everybody on it. And I'll tell you something. Those of you who haven't given up everything yet, I love you too. I got friends. I got close friends who still use, right? They don't do heroin. I don't get it. I don't get within city blocks of people who do heroin unless it's an accident. You know, I really try to steer away from people that do opiates because it's not something I need to risk. But I got friends that smoke pot. Half of the state smokes pot. That's fine. It really is. And if they can do it and keep it in check. But here's the litmus test for me, right? You know what keeping it in check means for me? This year, I might drink 3 times. I might have 2 or 3 beers when I do it. Stop that, kitty. My cat actually grinds its teeth. That's keeping it in check. If I drink 4 or 5 times in a month, I'm not keeping it in check. That's it. I know what it means for me to keep it in check. If you need to smoke pot every day, you might want to ask yourself why. If you need to drink every day, you might want to ask yourself why. If you need to do a little bit of meth just so you can get a little bit more work done, right? Or just because you got to, clean the house, but you're doing it every day, you might want to ask yourself why. My fight has never been with drugs. Great live tonight, Captain and crew. I love each and every one of you. Thanks, Mr. T. It means a lot to me. Really does. Love Mr. T. Losing weight. Fighting the good fight. He's also about my age. So, in fact, he's exactly my age. Poor guy. But, my fight's never been with drugs. It's not. I don't give a crap about cocaine. I don't give a crap about weed. I don't give a crap about heroin. Seriously. If you're a human being that can do heroin 3 times a year, please be careful that you don't overdose. But honestly, if you can do anything 3 times a year, there's no point in us talking about it. My fight's with addiction because I've seen what it can do. All right? I know what it can do. I've watched it destroy lives. I've watched it destroy 3 lives. Mine. Yeah. Drugs have destroyed my life 3 times. It's never going to happen again. That would be my suggestion for all of you. When you're balancing this stuff out, be honest with yourselves. Make a list of the things that are important. Keep a positive attitude. Never doubt that it's going to happen. It's going to be deep. You're going to have to scrape it off your shoe. And your best bet is to keep a positive attitude and giggle your way through it. Because that's usually what'll keep you going. Plain and simple. That's what will keep you going. All right, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. This is the lifeboat. That is a cat in a basket. I will be back tomorrow night. Same bat time, same bat channel. Good night, everyone. Sorry I missed the live stream. Hugs to everyone who needs one tonight. I have to rewatch this one. I was making it a late dinner. That's all right. Happens to the best of us. It really does. I will be back tomorrow night at this time. Right? Hopefully my partner Mark will be here with us. I think he will be. Danny Fudge, congratulations, man. Super proud of you. Really am. Super proud of you. 33 days, people. Gotta love that. So I will be here tomorrow night. Between now and then, yeah, but one assignment. You know what that assignment is? It's to reach out and try to save somebody. That's my watch. See you tomorrow night, people. I'm out of here.